Good morning, everybody. John Sviocla here, speaking to you from O'Hare Airport with the Gen AI news briefing from GAI Insights. We're delighted to have a couple guest analysts here, Tim Andrews from Manat and Vivek Mukhyar from Advisor, as well as Ankash and Paul and I. Interesting stuff this morning. We got some new releases from Mistral, fantastic new capability. I think it's kind of parity with the other folks, but that all the way through new kinds of models to evaluate language models, new kinds of benchmarks to evaluate language models. All right, Anka, should we start with the first article, please?
Sure, John. So the first one that we have for today comes from Mistral, and Mistral is deep diving
Ankash, I
with
can't
the
hear you.
chat.
I can hear him.
Yeah,
Can
we
you
can
guys
hear
hear
him.
Ankash? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Okay, Vivek, I think you have the first article, right?
Yes.
Why don't
Yeah.
you go ahead?
So thank you, Ankaj. Yeah, I think John just alluded to this earlier. Mistral introduced deep research capabilities similar to what we have from, Google started this trend and it was a phenomenal use case. Agentic search, it breaks down complex questions, finds credible sources, and presents the insights in a very meaningful, organized way. And this is one of my favorite features that I use all the time in so many variety of different ways from doing landscape analysis of any new topics. So this is all the way to finding the right the laundry machine for my parents. So this is a great capability. Again, Mistral is, I would say, late to the party, though I'm glad that they have this ability now available. So it's just a me too. I still give it an optional because every even Copilot has released this at an enterprise level. So by the time these guys get used on enterprise level, which is where it will make the most impact, it's going to still be a while. So they're late to the game, but good that they have this capability optional.
Back, Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I could go between optional and important. I mean, it's a product announcement. As Vivek said, it's mostly a catch up. It's a lot of good stuff, and they're open source, and they're an important European company in particular. So for folks who are paying attention to Europe a lot, this is probably more important. But it's a me too, pretty much, on everything they're doing here.
Yeah, I was going to give it an important for the reasons you just said. Paul, what do you think? And Paul, after this, could you take over directing? Because I'm going to
Sure.
be boring here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I had his optional product announcement here. It's I wouldn't fight important. I mean, I think some of our estimates are these guys are up to 80 or 100 million in revenue, which is really important to them. There's been rumors that Apple might buy them. I just find it stunning, Vivek, because I've been right with you that deep research is such a killer app. It was so novel in December, and 6 months later, it is a commodity at the basic level here, and it's just breathtaking here. But
Yeah.
optional.
Interesting the speed of this market too, because we're kind of picking on Mistral a little bit because they're a couple of months behind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they say that the differentiator is the speed at which it generates the reports, which may be, but I think I'm not a big, I want a more thorough, detailed report. So I think when it comes to deep research, I'm not that time sensitive. But
yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
people are happy to
Yeah.
trade off time for veracity and depth. So, in fact, that's almost
Yeah,
like the expectation
absolutely.
going in. All right, so let's go with optional. Next article, Ankash, please.
Okay, the next one comes from CodeRabbit and talks about how CodeRabbit brings AI to code reviews.
Yeah. Tim, do you have thoughts on this one?
Yes, I would rate this optional. It's interesting, and we know that coding in general as a topic is, if not the number one use case, certainly among the top three. This is an area that we haven't seen a lot of activity in, but is important and very, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of rote, grunt work, the kind of stuff that people don't consider quote unquote strategic, but very important, which is reviewing the code that's already existing, whether you're doing it just for quality control or because you need to create new code and you need to understand the existing code to integrate properly. So could be quite valuable, but it's a product announcement. and we'll have to see how well it interfaces with workflows and how well it performs.
Yeah.
So optional for me.
Vivek, you an optional column as well?
Yeah, I was optional as well. The only thing I would think about now that with so many vibe coders emerging and within enterprises, the quality of the code is going to go down. So having something like this, again, this may not be the best tool out there. It was one of the first ones to allow for code reviews and improve them. But at the end of the day, this is we're not the vibe coders are not developing production level code anyways. So as I was with Tim, this is kind of optional, specific for DevOps leaders and engineering managers. Really ones to be useful for.
Anka,
Yeah.
you similar, or John, are you still with us?
I am. Yeah, optional for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, good incremental. Me too, but optional.
I mean, one thing, did we cover that? I can't remember if we covered it. I just read it, where Google actually had AI find a bug proactively. So this idea that we've got more of the AI doing this remote stuff, not only code review, but even bug, not unit test, but actually bug finding is interesting. But
well, yeah, I mean, red teaming and bug detection, again, these are things that should be proactive. They're not right now because it's expensive, and we have for-profit commercial institutions providing most of this stuff, so they don't want to spend money on it if they don't have to.
great. So optional. Next one, Anka, please.
Okay, the next one comes from CIO Magazine and talks about how Textron takes flight with GenAI.
John, I know you were enthusiastic about this.
Yeah, I was going to give it an important. Look here, we have a giant multinational. The investment was made to support their maintenance workers. They have over 1,500 maintenance workers on this named company. Not a lot of detail in terms of certainly how they did it, and not a lot of detail on the economics, which is why I only gave it an important. The thing that's interesting here is, here we have a big old industrial company that's really found a wins kind of task, which is maintenance, which is critical to their profitability and service. So I think it's a lesson that a lot of physical companies could take. Paul, I just sent it to our favorite board member from the big industrial company that you and I presented to this morning, to just remind her, hey, look, there's an opportunity here. So I give it an important.
Yeah. And John, I'm noticing here in the article, 19 out of 20 questions were asked accurately. I mean, this feels like such a no-brainer in terms of structured data in highly complex post-sales, high-dollar environments. Yeah. Tim, strong views on the rating?
I can go with important. It's for the reasons John said. I wish they had provided a little bit more detail either on the economics or the structures and techniques they used. But yeah, it's a big company, and they've done some good work here, it looks like.
Yeah. Vivek?
Yeah, I was between optional and important. I like the idea that we went from a rapid POC to with minimal investment, right? That was the key, and to kind of experiment and not overinvest into a large tool and incur those tech debt. I think that's a key insight that this CEO has found, and that seemed to have worked very well. Yeah, I'm with Tim. That would have loved to see a little bit more details around the impact beyond this.
Are they actually in production, or are they just saying this is a proof of concept that they got?
No, they're deployed with over
It's in
1,500.
production
They're
now.
deployed.
Okay.
Yeah.
At scale.
That's great.
They started with the POC, and then they saw the results, and then they scaled those.
Yeah,
ones
the interesting thing here that I think it makes it worth reading is how quickly they moved. That they did not get overly hung up on ROI at the beginning. It was more about learning and moving quickly.
Yeah.
Wise words.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've seen that enterprises are going the other way. They only want to invest in these big, humongous projects that cause big impact. I think this is the path and strategy that, as Tim mentioned, that just don't worry about the ROI, just dip into it. The ROI is going to be there.
Yeah. So it sounds like important. Anka, you're going to reinforce that?
Yes, Paul, important for me. Yeah.
We've got a really good conversation going online with Ashish and Lucinda about ChatGPT Agent. Have any of you guys tried it or used it, or?
Haven't got a chance,
yet.
Paul. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked for it. I couldn't find it in our Teams or personal.
Yeah, I don't have it.
Yeah, OpenAI is late. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Good. Let's keep driving. Next one, please. And I encourage the folks online, if you want to send us or EIO as well, let us know. Love to incorporate that. I'm still behind on getting my GPT honed up for EI because I want to ask the robots during the call. I just want to put the URL in and have them rated as well. But go ahead, Ankaj, introduce this.
Yeah. So this one comes from South Korea, and it's their new update to their Solar Pro model called Solar Pro 2.
Yeah, so I was on this. The Solar Pro 2. It's again, it's a South Korean firm based in San Jose, and they've released the Frontier. They call it a Frontier Scale LLM, which is a 32 billion parameter model. But they're positioning it as a smaller, more efficient alternative to GPT-4 or GPT like Claude 3. But it really focuses around multilingual performance, especially in Korean and advanced Korean reasoning. For sort of use cases around Korean language. So I think this is important for folks who are working in that world, enterprise operating in Korea, and to utilize this model for applications in those firms. But beyond that, I gave this an optional, given that it's great. I love to see the kind of domain specific and language specific models emerging. But the utility for an average AI leader is going to be limited. So yeah, that's right.
And it's a product announcement too, right, Vivek?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Tim or John, you guys consistent?
Yeah, definitely optional. I think it's interesting to see the importance of sovereign AI in this. I mean, the Koreans obviously trying to push some small to medium-sized models. I think we're going to see that in every country.
But we've seen. Let's have this debate though. We've seen Bloomberg go with niche model creating and give up because the large foundation model OpenAI was better. We saw Harvey do the same thing. They're moving away to multiple R because they just can't compete. That bigger is better in all areas, including niches. Is Korean different somehow?
I think. Look, if you're a consumer electronics company and you're not building out a small to medium-sized model, I think that's a huge mistake.
Because of performance or for sovereignty, or
yeah, all the above, and just having more control over like what your products look like, and your market power. I don't know, and plus the small models, I think they're going to start to really go after the big models.
Yep, and I think this is early days, so people are segmenting in all different directions, and the sovereign AI is just another push behind that. So this is clearly aimed primarily, at least that's their differentiation. It's primarily Korean English work. And South Korea's got some big companies and some big connections to Silicon Valley, so it may work. I think the jury's out right now. It hasn't paid off in Bloomberg's case, but there are lots of other people still building smaller, fine-tuned models for various reasons. And so I think the jury's out. I don't think we know the answer yet.
Great. So optional. Next one, Ankaj.
Okay.
Before we go there, Colaberry just talks about the uniqueness of local culture and nuances, which actually may be much more specific than the financial services on Bloomberg. It's a lot more horizontal. Maybe that's the...
Yeah, the context, and they may have additional context and data that they're trained on that makes it unique compared to all financial.
And maybe Bloomberg just didn't do a great job. We don't know. There's a lot of questions here.
And also to maybe the financial analysis is less cultural nuance at the local level. Than language and tone and everything else.
And there's a lot of financial information available for ingestion and training.
Correct.
Maybe not so much specific cultural dialect in Korean. So there's just a million different reasons it could be important, but it's just early. Just have to watch and see.
Great. The next one, Ankaj, please.
Yep. So the next one comes from NVIDIA, and they have launched an open reasoning Nemotron model.
All right. Who had this one?
I think John had this one.
John
I did. I gave this an optional. The the notion of being able to use much more distilled data and logic and so forth. I think very interesting. The push here, building out the Chinese models. I think we're just going to see a tremendous amount of activity on performance and edge based, and but yet another miracle, right? These little models doing fantastic work. So optional.
Yeah. Yeah. Tim and Vic, you guys agree? Optional?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, optional it is. Let's this optional feeling like an optional day, optional Tuesday.
Yep. So
Which
the
is very
last one that we have,
surprising. And we usually beat up the optional articles. Usually we have optional articles and we spend twice as much time talking about them.
yeah, there was not a lot of content out there, Paul, yesterday. So
Yeah.
I was not able to find much.
What wasn't a criticism, like just description. Yeah.
No. No. Just adding in. Yeah. So the last one that we have for today is a research paper which talks about transevalnia, which is a reasoning-based evaluation and ranking of translations.
Anybody want to advocate for this one? Not out of the optional pool.
I can say I was between. Go ahead. Tim,
Yeah, go
please.
ahead. Go ahead, Vivek.
No, the reason I was between optional and important on this one is I know how expensive translations are at the current state. So when I work in content development for medical reasons, and we do a lot of globalization of content that we create for healthcare professionals. And one of the big ticket item is around translations. And I thought this was interesting because it allowed us to kind of review the translations, and there's a lot of money we spent on that specific workflow. So I was interested. I mean, again, it's very early stage. Let's see if how it evolves into, and if it actually has that much impact in terms of accuracy. So that I still was at optional, but I was kind of leaning towards important just because of the use case.
All right, an optional with a lean. Tim or John, any other leaning
Optional.
either way?
Well,
Sorry.
go ahead, John.
I was just going to say optional. I mean, I think important to have a new kind of benchmark and so forth, but and as Vivek said, if certain companies, especially pharma, others, important area. But to me, the code is available right now and so forth. So I mean, it is, but still and early.
All right, sounds like optional. Vivek, I'm kind of curious in general in the industry, not company specific. Is AI making a big impact in the translation cost? Is it driving the cost down, or is it still a real need to do the traditional methods to make sure the veracity is there?
Yeah, I think there's not enough trust yet,
Yeah.
but overall, the movement is there. It's one of those easy ones to look on the P&Ls and easy line item.
Oh, great. Mohammed's voting for important. Thank you, Mohammed. You've been outvoted, but thank you for contributing. And let's.
I'm going to make the case for important here,
okay.
which I don't usually do. But first of all, I'm a little bit biased because I think the folks at Sakana are very good. They publish some really, really great articles, and their research is solid. And this is another case of that. Second of all, I think there's two lessons here. First, what's really important to me is the way they positioned evaluation and tested the use of judges models, which people worry about. That one of the toughest things about trusting, as Vivek was saying, one of the toughest things about trusting is trusting the evaluation, having an evaluation. And if the robots are doing the evaluation, do you even trust the evaluation? You get into this recursive loop of, am I ultimately going to end up back at a human anyway because I can't trust anything? They did a great job here of showing how you can set up an evaluation that's pretty trustworthy. And that's a huge issue to me for a lot of applications. So I think it's worth the read. It's, I'm not going to say essential. Important is read it when you have the time. And I think for the larger issues at play here, this is important.
Yeah, I'll double down on that. I think you said it so well, Tim. Sakana, they somehow find these gaps in the frontier and work on those, which is what has been very impressive in the last at least 6 to 8 months. Even though when they started with the first paper around the entire scientist, and then they were one of the first ones to bring that idea to, and so yeah. I'll say that.
Great memory, Vivek. Yeah. So Mohammed, you've gained support. So what's up to important? So and we do like Sakana. I know they've been up multiple times on this. So important for this one here. And I also want to note online, Lucinda's talking about how she has a GPT which rates the articles, although she sees some great inflation. But Lucinda, when you get a chance to change that, share that prompt. I know Ram and others would, and as myself would love to see it. Next one, please.
That was the last one, Paul.
Oh, great. Well, let's we got a few extra time here. We've two or three comments online about the Wall Street Journal article talking about how the OpenAI Stargate is sputtering in the harbor, spinning around, and just a PR stunt. Do anyone have strong views on that, or is this another?
Well,
PR?
I think it was, again, without getting too political, almost this is just reality TV stuff. Anybody who looked at that deal the day it was done said, "Oh, this is clearly just a PR stunt." There wasn't. It was called a $500 million deal. There was maybe between 50 and 100 million that wasn't even raised yet. That was available. Billions. Sorry, that was maybe between 50 and 100 billion that was maybe available but hadn't been raised yet, and they're having trouble even raising that much money. Shocker.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was PR all the way from the start. Maybe it'll turn into something. You never know. But this was all about the reality TV aspect of it, not about the reality of the money.
Yeah, I do think, I do think it's an area that is going to continue to grow. I mean, the whole notion of, power and these massive data centers and so forth that's real. I totally agree with Tim
absolutely.
that, I mean, look, this is like the the automotive plants in Ohio and, a bunch of other stuff. They're just, once the announcement is done, the follow through is intermittent at best. But anyway, that's just an artifact of where we are politically. But this whole issue about energy, the relationship between energy and intelligence is going to be, I think, the central kind of the global strategic thing, along with availability of robotic parts. The thing that worries me the most about the United States is that we are not anything like as vertically integrated as we ought to be in the parts that make up physical robots. And I think we have a silicon supply chain which is way too fragile. But those to me are the kinds of things we ought to be worried about, along with energy.
Yeah. Well, John, at least on that, if you look on the execution side, we've seen Meta continue to lean hard into their mega data centers. I think, I forget all the code names.
Yeah, I don't think there's. Yeah, there's no question people are going to spend a lot of money here. And Ashish is saying, somebody estimated at the beginning they did have the money. Of course, the money's out there, but it's very different to say the money's out there and I can raise that money and get people to commit that money to my bank account so I can use it to build things. Those are two very different statements. And they had the first, but not the second.
Yeah. It is also notable, just on the speed side, how fast Elon Musk built Colossus down in, I think, Memphis. And now he's taking part in shipping that power plant from overseas over there. I think they had another gigawatt. So it's breathtaking.
Yeah.
John, you were mentioning, you talked to someone in Silicon Valley who was arguing that the AI game's over, the next game's on power. Do you think that was a crazy thought?
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely true. And, the other thing Musk did, when he built Colossus is he just, as he often does, is he just, basically rode roughshod over a bunch of the regulatory stuff. So if you look at what he's doing for an environmental impact and so forth, he just totally blew past it. So I think some of the speed is fantastic engineering, and some of the speed is just doing what he wants and let the regulators chase him later. But yeah, no, this whole issue of power being central, I do think that's the next game.
But John, you're not suggesting that Elon Musk is ignoring regulators and Google didn't?
Oh, no. I think they're all, I think all the mega scalers, Microsoft does a better job of paint jobbing what they ignore. But yeah, Google, read the book Surveillance Capitalism by Shoshana Zuboff. Google was brutal.
Yeah.
Anyway, they gather all kinds of stuff illegally and then they fight it in court and people get tired and they have infinite money.
Yeah. Great. All right.
Totally agree.
I'm sorry.
I said I just totally agree. Also, if you really want to worry about China, this is where you really worry about China. They are much better at building power plants than we are. Much better. Not even close.
Yeah.
Told me
They're
that they
deploying
are
this,
putting
the
on-
Westing. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, they successfully deployed, I think, over a dozen of the small nukes that Westinghouse designed, and so
Yep.
those are the ones that the guys at Fermi America are going to try to build in the Permian Basin, in West Texas. And to see Trump administration is pushing hard on nukes, and also coal for that matter. But whatever.
John and I were trading thoughts last night on a short video clip from Andreessen, who was arguing that the only question right now is which dominant AI platform is it going to be 20 years from now? Is it going to be China or US? And kind of a zero sum there. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think I hope that's the wrong way to think about it. What I'm hoping that we're going to be a little more rebellious about it and think about getting AI out to our population and access, in a more, I think, of American spirit, right? But we'll see.
Yeah, great. Let's do the final leaderboard, and as we're doing that, one of the things that we're doing today for our conference, GAI World, is we're trying a flash sale, so 50% off tickets for today only. So instead of the retail $25.95, they're going to be at $12.95. So if you want to save some money and plan and attend, purchase tickets today. So we right now, a big optional day, 3 optionals, 2 importance. Any other announcements or contributions? Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic day, and let's keep the learning going.
Bye-bye.
Bye.